started nearly 10 years ago now. It started in Barcelona. That's where I lived after my studies, and as all the good things, it started coincidentally. I was actually trying to get a job in advertising without having any proper experience in advertising, without speaking Spanish, and being there during the unemployment crisis after the economic crisis. So really not the best situation to start something like that. But then I thought that the event agencies should be pretty similar to advertising, and that's where I applied. And I had some experience already from organizing some student events, working with student associations, actually doing my event studies in the Netherlands, and I got a job, my first job in the creative events agency, and that actually turned out to be amazing. It was much closer to my character, to my personality than advertising would have been, I imagine, because it was super dynamic. It was very creative. My job wasn't the production. My position has always been between creativity and strategy. So really kind of extracting the essence from the needs of the client or from the needs of the festival or event itself, and transforming that into a creative experience that would correlate with the audience, with the speakers, and with the sponsors, with anyone involved in the event. So really that was so creative, so dynamic, and something very interesting, and I just haven't left that journey ever since. One main word that comes to my mind, or if I would have to describe the last year in one word, that would be agility. It's really for all of us, professionally, personally, no matter which industry you're coming from or what position you're in, we really had to learn to be much more flexible, much more adaptive, much more easygoing, and letting go to what we've planned. Definitely that has been my experience as well, because just a few months before the corona hit, I had actually launched or started my own consultancy in sustainable events. So I really kind of quit the corporate position, or just stayed a little bit there, but decided to open up kind of my own agency there. And the first few months were really great, and we just had a very good start, and then it all happened. And obviously, I mean, the entire industry has stopped, sustainable or unsustainable. So, well, for the first few days, I thought, well, great timing, congrats, really good idea. But other than that, I really didn't have much time to complain or to pity myself. I had a client, the conference that's supposed to be happening live in Barcelona, and I was advising them, and they were actually one of the first conferences which decided to shift to online. It was very early March. The dates of the conference were really kind of mid-February. We decided that we are going to transform it to digital. We didn't really have the examples back then. Now everyone is doing virtual conferences, and everyone is master of Zoom and recordings and all that stuff. But a year ago, it was all super new. We really didn't know what to expect, from the technical side to the experience side to the content planning, the strategy of the event, the sales, monetization. Really, everything was so new. And we had, I think, 3 weeks to really do the transformation. So it was a super hot time and really crazy, but the best school definitely I could have had, because, well, actually middle of March, I already had quite a strong digital event experience compared to everyone else there. And well, as this topic became, or as this setup became the only setup we could have, I just kept on doing that until now. I stopped thinking, once we'll get back to normal. I'm not using that phrase anymore. I think the new normal is changing. It's not going to be as we knew, at least for the events, but actually, well, for much more industries, but for the events especially. Obviously, all of us, we miss face-to-face gatherings, we miss networking, we miss human connection, and all those, kind of serendipity moments and randomness that we can get at live conferences. but also so many things are just benefits from, you know, being able to do it from your place. It's from financial aspect of the event to the geography and the reach that the conference organizers can have, to obviously sustainability, which is the huge topic, and its event industry is actually doing so much footprint with the traveling, with a few days, you know, look and overlay and branding and all the kind of build up, and now all this is saved. So really, for so many aspects, doing this from remote locations, it's much greater. So I really think that we are entering, or kind of we are learning now to have this new different mix of live and virtual worlds, and I think especially for the conferences, for educational conferences, a lot of content is going to remain online, and we will have maybe a smaller gatherings or more less frequent gatherings from time to time. So yeah, kind of still having the human connection, but obviously not doing everything in those halls and hotel rooms and conference centers. I'll be speaking about changing trends of the conferences for the conference organizers and for the speakers, and really about this kind of the new mindset behind the audience at a conference, behind the organizer of the conference, and really how the landscape of events and conferences is changing, and the fact of kind of shifting from the massive conferences to the more boutique gatherings. That's one of the things I'll be speaking about. We see a lot of great examples. Some of the conferences I worked with, they were built on this pattern, really having smaller amount of attendees, but enabling much more human connections, much more authentic information, much more genuine presentation of the content of people. Those are the trends that I think are really setting the new normal for events and for conferences. We are seeing quite a lot of that, and that's going to be my main focus. In general, I was so many times very pleasantly surprised how kind and genuine would be very senior people. So, you know, always has, and as I started as a conference organizer and had to get my speakers and gather my lineup for the first times, it was obviously very scary to reach out to very senior people, including, for example, Monica Lewinsky, which we had as a key speaker, keynoter at one of the conferences. And, you know, it's all kind of, you always go through this whole procedure of reaching out to the agents and really very like official way of communication, like a lot of kind of preparation for that. And it makes you scared to meet the real person, the actual person. But so many cases, in so many times, it has proved the opposite, that actually the people who have achieved more in their lives, they would be more pleasant to talk to, as we mentioned before. So this is always a very good reminder to me that, you know, the higher you are in your career, the more kind you have to be to the people around you. And it's a very normal and basic rule, but I think so many of us forget that, and it's easy to get into, you know, now I'm all there, I'm there on the stage and stuff. So really remaining genuine, remaining authentic, and remaining kind, that's, I think, the key values of the good speaker, and all of those examples that I've seen had inspired me the most, I think. Be genuine, I think that's one of the core skills, and that means, well, being human, being who you are, being out there with your real emotions, with not being afraid to share how the situation made you feel, whether you are afraid, whether you are uncertain, whether you are demotivated and you lost your inspiration as a speaker, as an organizer. Not being afraid to lose face, actually don't have a goal to have the face, but have a goal to be human and connect with other human beings out there. And if we all will do that, I think the platform and the digital or physical is not going to be the main issue anymore, and we'll be able to form the communities, exchange, and that those are the grounds for the building back better, to revealing more innovations and just making this all uncertain event space more creative. Being open and being creative. It's pretty much linked, I think, because if we are open enough for getting the feeling of what this new environment actually is and what it demands of us, we can find answers to it. And if we see actually, and if we notice how people are feeling at these virtual conferences or at live conferences, once we have the new generation of audience out there, being open enough to tackle the feeling of your audience, and then being creative enough to look for new ways instead of being stuck to what you know or what you thought has worked. Being open enough and brave enough to approach the unknown and to change it.